Hi, I'm Lieutenant Colonel Kelly Howard. I'm a reservist at TRADOC working with the Army's Holistic Health and Fitness Centers. And I will be giving you an introduction today on the yoga pilot that we are looking at for basic training. So the pilot is actually on yoga and mindfulness. I'll only be speaking to the yoga part of it. But the goal is to introduce mindfulness and yoga practices in basic combat training in order to improve the mental and physical readiness and reduce attrition of trainees. So the concept is a 10-week pilot. We're going to compare trainees who are exposed to yoga and mindfulness with those who are not exposed. And evaluation done by the Walter Reed Army Institute of Research will be looking at differences between the two groups on things like their graduation rate, their injuries, their weapons qualification, ACFT scores, high stress events performance, their sleep quality, their acts of indiscipline, as well as their overall interest and engagement and motivation. So our goals in the yoga program are to reduce injury to shoulders and backs and knees by increasing the trainees' strength, flexibility, and mobility. Also teaching the trainees how to integrate their deep core muscles and enhancing the awareness of their mind-body connection by linking movement and breath. We also hope to improve retention through lower injury rates and better stress resilience, both physical and mental, and potentially create a desire and commitment for a sustained yoga practice after basic combat training. So this 10 weeks will be taught by registered yoga teachers at the 200-hour level. They are contracted by the Holistic Health and Fitness Centers under the guidance of Ms. Jessica Smith and Strive Wellbeing. And they will be doing 15 minutes of Hatha yoga poses before and after each PRT session. And this will take the place of the preparatory and recovery drills that the control group will be doing. So just a little bit about me. I've been practicing yoga now for over 15 years, ever since my very first deployment to Iraq in the first year of the war. I started teaching yoga in 2005, actually at Fort Jackson, and later taught in Baghdad, and then also when I was stationed at the Pentagon for several years. I currently lead the VA's Integrative Health Program for educating VA staff and clinicians and veterans nationwide on integrative health, which includes yoga. So I've been in the Army now for 18 years. 10 of those were active. The past 8 years have been in the reserves. And yoga has been really a lifesaver for me, both in terms of helping injuries from running marathons, to improving back pain, to overall helping me handle the stress of military life, and then having kids and all the other challenges that life brings. So a little bit about our time together for the familiarization training coming up. We are dividing it into 2 parts. And the first part, we'll be doing an overview of what all 3 phases of the preparatory sequences look like, the pre-PRT sequences look like. We'll talk about all those, and then we'll do a combined post red, white, and blue phase sequence together so that you get a sense of how all of those poses feel. And we'll debrief all of that. And then building on that in the second part, we'll actually go through each of the 3 phases. So the 10 weeks of yoga training is divided into 3 phases, the red, white, and blue, to accompany the phases of basic combat training. And the red phase, it's more of a beginner phase, and then we build on that in the white and the blue phase. So we'll be going through each of those 6 sequences, 3 for pre-PRT and 3 for post-PRT. And there are videos that we link to in the manual that you'll receive, as well as the email that you'll be getting from your units, that will show the actual sequences of each phase so that you can follow along that way too. All right, so some principles to keep in mind. So drill sergeants are not teaching yoga. You're rather helping with quality assurance and ensuring that the trainees avoid some of the common pitfalls of yoga poses. We certainly don't want anyone getting injured here. And we think we've created sequences that are very safe and very approachable for beginner students. And at the same time provide some challenge, because we still want to maximize the physical fitness training that these trainees are getting. Please do not provide any hands-on assist. The yoga teachers will not be doing this either. If you have a correction for the training, just make sure it's a verbal correction or you're demonstrating versus putting your hands on them. Also, keep it simple. So the goal is to perform poses that are challenging yet accessible, but we want trainees focused on the sensation of the pose in their body and on their breath. It's not about doing a perfect pose that you would see in a magazine or on the internet. An alignment might be a little off for them at first, but it'll improve as the weeks go on and they get more comfortable in the sequences. In the manual that you all have, you'll see some cues that our teachers will be using to instruct trainees how to get in and out of each pose. These cues are not a script, they're just guidelines to help ensure consistency of instruction, because we want similar instruction throughout all the platoons who are in this pilot group. But each teacher has the flexibility to make their teaching their own, as long as they get through all of the poses and they stay within the time constraints of the 15 minutes. And just the third thing I would emphasize again is just the focus on the breath. The breath is the barometer of how hard you're working. In yoga, if it becomes choppy, you should back off a little bit so that you can maintain a deep and steady breath. But bottom line, the breath is more important than the pose. There's no benefit to over-efforting here or over-exerting in these yoga sequences. So focusing on a really deep inhale and exhale, a minimum of 3 counts in and 3 counts out, ideally up to 4 or 5 counts in and 5 counts out. And especially focusing on the exhale, that deep and consistent breath, but really exhaling to release a lot of stress and tension. It's really good for the parasympathetic nervous system. So the manual that you have shows some of these principles. It takes you through all 3 phases with each of the 6 sequences. But in general, phase 1 that you'll be seeing, the characteristics of this are introducing students to the poses, linking movement and breath, and stabilizing the core. This is the first 2 weeks of basic combat training. And then we move into phase 2, where we're working on building some lower body strength and reducing tension in the low back and hips. These are weeks 3 through 5. And then finally, phase 3, weeks 6 through 10, is creating upper body strength, mobility, and lengthening the spine. So the manual lists all of these out in detail, as I mentioned. We'll also be going through these during the familiarization phase. And the manual that you all will be getting, an electronic copy emailed to you as well as a paper copy when we're on site together, has all of this information, as well as pictures of each pose at the end and links to the videos like this one, but for each of the pre and post sequences that you might find helpful as a reference. So if you have any questions throughout the whole pilot phase, you're welcome to ask me. Again, my name is Lieutenant Colonel Kelly Howard, or Major Kimberly Jordan, who's in charge of this whole yoga and mindfulness pilot under the leadership of Colonel Beagleman from TRADOC, Holistic Health and Fitness. Also, Ms. Jessica Smith, who's in charge of all the registered yoga teachers. And then, of course, the yoga teachers who are working with each of your platoons. Feel free to use them as a resource. There will be 1 teacher assigned to each platoon. We hope you develop a relationship with them, since you'll be working with each other over the course of those 10 weeks. And they're just really excellent points of contact and subject matter experts in all things yoga. So thank you for this opportunity. We're really excited to see the impact that this pilot will make on basic training. The evaluation component is really important to us, so please help us ensure the consistency of the instruction. Please also help the trainees as they're working through this with any questions they might have about why they're doing this, but why their buddies aren't, and so on. And if you have any feedback or suggestions on how we can make this better, if it were to go forward or things are to spread to a different level, please let us know. We're always looking to improve and would love to see Our common goal here to increase graduation rates and decrease injury rates and have soldiers more flexible and resilient for the challenges that will face them when they are on active duty. Thank you all again. I'll see you soon. Bye.